Hey guys and girls, Bored now, back with you. On this video I will be reviewing Yellowjackets Season 1 Episode 9. It is called Doomcoming. Full spoilers from the start of this review. Episode of the first season. And this is an episode which has come up quite a lot as I've been doing these reviews. It's probably my favourite of the show overall so far, although there's one or two other contenders. If you check out my last review, Flight of the Bumblebee, I really liked that episode. I also really liked Dollhouse from earlier in the season, because it does have a bit of an edge. I enjoy how trippy and surreal it gets. But there's also a good balance of light and dark, and I just enjoy how focused it is. Homecoming type ceremony, then they all set up, and just how things slowly escalate from there. It's a really nicely paced episode. Things flow at a natural pace, and there's just some meaty character stuff happening and some really great direction. And when I first watch it, I wasn't so keen on it. I think it's always a fine line for me with episodes like this when characters like randomly go on a big long drug trip, and because at times it can come off a bit goofy and it's not always my sort of humour. Now this isn't really played for humour that much, it is played more for like sinister purposes, and that's partly why it works for me. But there are moments where there are lighter things, that's being high and just the way they react to things, but they definitely make it more dark and sinister. So it's an episode that benefited me rewatching it because I got a lot more into that stuff second time around. Could be supernatural things at play here because the characters act in such an extreme, unusual way at one point near the climax of the episode, then it does sort of hint then supernatural things might be influencing them, then it's not just them being high and the fallout. So just to give you the basis, they decide to, as I said, stage like a homecoming prom style ceremony where they can all get dressed up in the woods, and they just like build sort of like a set to almost replicate what a real prom would feel like. And they're missing back home, they're missing the opportunity to do things like this. I can't remember exactly, but I think it might fall on roughly when they would be doing this if they were still back home. The characters have been out in the wilderness long enough, then they're probably resigned to this is their life now, or at least for a while. Then even if they do get saved, they escape, it's not going to be for a while. And there's definitely at this point talk about this could be it now, we just have to survive out here. And some of them even resigned to we're probably going to die out here. A lot of sense, and they would do this because it's like a chance to do something we might not otherwise get to do. Shona and Jackie officially make up after their splat, and they get to like dress up each other and walk out, and that's all nice. The big emotional stuff is maybe with Van and with Thaisa, because Van is still recovering from being, well, nearly dying, but severely scarred on the face. To the group, because I don't think up to this point they've really come out to the group that they're a couple, and this is just like the perfect occasion to do it. But it's a nice little touch that Thaisa like puts a thing over her face, like a ceremonial type thing, just to match what Van does, because Van has to do it because of her eye, and it's just this great like thing in unison between the two and bonding, and they come out together looking all like stylish, and they kiss in front of the group, a real embrace, and everyone just cheers. It's beautifully done, and there's just some great character stuff in the episodes that then comes from this, where it feels like, what the hell, we're gonna let it all hang out, we're just gonna be ourselves, and we're not gonna be worried about what other people think. Natalie and Ben, because Natalie is still clearly into Travis, even though she made the decision to dump him, and there's just a little bit of angst during the dance sequences, because like Jackie decides to dance with Travis and there's a little bit of a flirtation there, and there's been like a bit of a needle between those two. Jackie was quite outspoken about her sneaking off with Travis in another episode, so that just leads to a bit of angst because Natalie gets a little bit jealous. And there's just this sense that Jackie is doing it to try and rub it in her face. Natalie, like, leaves and Ben comes after her. And Ben's, like, really has proved a very likeable character. Like, he's obviously one of the characters that, like, the drama isn't that focused on because he is, like, the adult and he's male and the whole point is it's a girls' soccer team. But as a supporting character, I think he's been pretty solid and grounded and down to earth. And I do like that he does go to the prom with Misty, even though that's a dangerous thing for him to explore. Have this crush on him and she has become a little bit too obsessed with him, but it's a nice gesture. Misty follows Lee and Ben into the woods because she sees them go together and thinks, well, is there something going on here? So she's getting a bit jealous. And Ben gives, like, Natalie a nice sort of talk about things with Travis and encourages her to like, give it another go. So she goes, hey, it's too awkward and it's just time to nip this in the bud. So he does it in a true way where he's like telling the truth. He says, I'm gay, so nothing can happen. And Misty obviously gets a little bit hurt. So you get all these dramas. I mean, arguably, again, it's probably feels a bit too soapy at times, but I don't mind it so much in this episode because I think there is a logic to it and I think there is a reason for it. It does actually lead to other stuff in the plot, like the stuff with Jackie and the way that all turns later on and goes really dark. So it does like have a more of a purpose in the plot rather than it just being more kind of teen angst-ridden drama. And it's because Misty accidentally, although it's maybe implied it's on purpose, but I definitely read it as it was an accident. Like, she leaves the mushrooms out because they're all cooking like the stew or the soup, whatever it is for like the formal. Misty comes back and realizes, and it's like, oh, okay, because it's those sorts of mushrooms that get you high. And it's a funny little moment because she could still stop it once she realizes the error, but she chooses not to. Maybe at that point she just thinks that it's too late anyway. She's doing it to get Ben a little bit high and to like maybe hope something will happen with there. So once again, it doesn't reflect that well on Misty, even though it was an accident originally. And things just play out from there. And as I said, like, I got more into this stuff this time around. It did flow quite organically and naturally. And it's a good pacing where you get a lot of like nice little character moments leading up to it. You get some genuinely like sweet moments and then you sort of build to the darker stuff. And it's a well-directed, good atmosphere where things just escalate. And they escalate when Natalie goes looking for Travis and it turns out him and Jackie have snuck off together and they have sex. Natalie and a bunch of the others walk in, and it's at this point where the drug trip has really started to set in and there's all sort of weird stuff going on in the woods. And yeah, so Jackie is the only one who isn't drunk or drugged up, by the way. She didn't take the mushrooms. Sort of like force Jackie out the room and they go after Travis and they start like pretty much raping him or like attempting to rape him, tying him up, getting all sexual and in a very aggressive way. And once again, this is very on point with the show. Not that it isn't disturbing, but just this idea that it's turning things around and it's more the male who's being like the figure of like spectacle and he's having like depraved like sexual acts done to him. But it's really atmospheric and unsettling, and it's impressive how darkly they go with it, where it looks like they might even kill him, and there's several of them, so they've sort of pinned him down. Read it as they found him with Natalie, and they just naturally thought, oh, what a or with Jackie, I should say, and they just thought, oh, what a shitty thing to do. Yeah, with considering how Natalie feels for you and stuff, and that's why they went off. And then you could just say it's the drugs that's like accelerating that. Then they go to the extreme because of the drugs. Like, they're already pissed, but it's the drugs. But definitely the mood of it and how trippy it feels, and the extremes they go to gives me the impression then it's probably a bit more than that. There's something else going on. Lottie once again plays a very important role, because when they get Travis out into the woods and they tie him to like a tree, like, she encourages Shona to like slit his throat, which is interesting stuff, because more and more as the season has gone on, Lottie has become a person of interest, a person to watch, who there could be much weirder stuff going on with her, and because of the way the season ends and sets her up as a big character for season 2, then the fact she becomes a bit of a ringleader in this stuff, and she's the one almost demanding Shona kill him, it is like a big moment and something to look back on. In the end, you get the natural payoff, maybe Natalie coming along to save Travis. So at least for a while is going to be like rekindled. Later on in the past, or the future I should say, it's gone a bit sour, but for a while we do know that they were together, like post Wilderness style event, and the stuff that led from it all came out of it. I was all really into this time around. And once again, a good mix of light and dark. 2021, we get more developments with Shona and the Adam plot. She starts confronting him. He plays innocent, although it's revealed that he has been checking up on her and the girls and the history. He's got like a copy of the book about them. So, and there is certain things he's been lying about his actual identity. So, to a certain extent, you can see why Shona suspects him. Well played scene, because things get out of control and she ends up shooting him. Like, just a moment of angst, really, than just sort of careers out of control. Even though you might say, oh, it's a bit cheap because it's just setting up more drama where it's going to predictably turn out not to be him, which it does later, but even so, I think it is a good scene and it's a decent enough payoff, and I can't really be complaining about it leading to more drama, like, because it does create another problem for the group later on, and that can only be a good thing. There was only so much you can do with Shona and Adam and them having their little fling. You sort of had to progress it at some point. Complaint about the episode at this point, because it's revealed later that Jeff is the one who's been blackmailing them. So he finds out about the whole thing with Ada, finds out that Jeff also has access to her journals, and she sees the glitter on it. The reason is because the furniture business has fallen on hard times. So he decided to blackmail her and the other girls for the money. And he explains that the woman Shona saw him with at the hotel that time was just like a lone like shark, so that's why they were meeting. And that part of it is fine enough, whatever. I'm not sure why they would meet at a hotel. It just seems like a bit of a weak payoff, and again, maybe you're not supposed to think too much about it. It just stretches credibility a little bit, because I'm not sure I quite buy he would like blackmail his own wife. It's one thing to do it to the others, but I didn't really think he would go as far to blackmail her. It doesn't really make a lot of sense, and he wouldn't just tell her. Believable then he would go as far as to like cook up this elaborate scheme and blackmail his own wife. Maybe it's just meant to be a sign of how bad their marriage is. Deal, I guess it's not meant to be. It is a big reveal because they've obviously like built this thing up throughout the season, but it's not massive, it's not a game changer, because there are more important things going on in the show, and the bigger mysteries, what exactly happened in the wilderness and some of the things connected to that. So it's not really a deal breaker. It's just something which stands out to me as being a bit of a weaker part of this episode. And so she has to reveal to him what happened, and that he killed Adam, or she killed Adam. And it's a really funny scene, actually, quite a darkly funny scene, and hysterical because of her having to go through all this, and just the way he tries to process, like, what, who, what, where, almost that sort of thing, where she's going through all these different things, and initially he's pissed that she cheated on him, but then when she starts unloading all this other stuff on him, like, just him going through the mind mold of that is, like, really funny to watch. But, like, ultimately it does bring them closer together. Ona, like, lies to the others in the group about Adam, and says then it was him blackmailing, and because she's now killed him, that in her mind puts a bow on that, and they just have the problem of getting rid of the body now and leaving no trace, and they call in good old reliable Misty, which is pretty fun. I quite like them. They pretty much despise her, but they need her around, like they feel she's probably the best to deal with this sort of thing. And there's just some fun stuff with her going through the different stages of what you need to do, and just set up this plan for them to, like, dispose of the body. Enjoyable, very good stuff, particularly in the wilderness. And bar the complaint, the sort of nitpick about the reveal with Jeff, there's a lot of good stuff in the present as well. So overall, I think I'm going to stand by this. I think this might be the best episode of the season overall. So we'll see what happens with the finale. I will say then I'm going to be doing a live stream watch of the finale. That will be later on tonight as you get this, so look out for that. Let me know your thoughts on this episode, Doomcoming, in the comments below. Like and subscribe as always. Share me out on social media. For something different, me and Rachel McDonald do regular horror movie reviews. We do franchise movies, so we've done all of the Halloween movies. We've done all of the Scream movies. Recently you had Scream 6, so we reviewed that to get up to date. We've also done things like the 3 Conjuring movies. We've done all of the Wrong Turn movies. We do various other, if there's like a new streaming movie, we might cover that. So there's a good range of, like, horror reviews from us now. A nice little back catalogue. Our first review was actually a review of the first Fear Street trilogy, so you can find that on the channel. So yeah, if you're into horror movies, that might be a good one to check out some of our horror reviews. But yeah, keep watching TV, keep watching Yellowjackets, and I'll see you guys again soon.